Most people think they know how World War II soldiers stored and protected their rations, but the truth is there were entire layers of fieldcraft that rarely make it into documentaries or textbooks. Before we get into the real substance, let me hook you with this. If you're passionate about military history and survival tactics, you're about to learn 7 locations soldiers relied on that even seasoned researchers overlook. This is the kind of knowledge that, honestly, deepens your appreciation for wartime logistics and also sharpens your own preparedness skills. And before we begin, make sure you subscribe to my channel right now so you never miss deep dive breakdowns like this. This is exactly the material serious World War II historians and survivalists come for. Let's get straight into the places soldiers guarded closely but rarely documented. Soldiers often hid food deep within the earth, using improvised ground caches under inconspicuous natural cover. In both the European and Pacific theatres, infantry units learned quickly that leaving rations in tents or pack lines made them vulnerable to enemy raids, animals and weather. So they built ground caches beneath forest leaf beds, under tree roots, or inside shallow dugouts that blended into the terrain. These caches were rarely deeper than 1.5 feet, just enough to protect the contents, but quick enough to access under fire. You can apply this today by choosing terrain features that don't draw the eye: a fallen log, a depression already created by erosion, or the base of a tree with thick roots. Dig just wide enough for your container, fill it, cover it with native soil, then replace the natural debris exactly as it was. The key is minimal disturbance, just as frontline troops practice daily. Food was stored inside abandoned or disabled vehicles that no one bothered to inspect closely. A burned-out truck or armoured car might look worthless, but to troops living day by day, they were perfect concealed larders. German and Soviet units became especially adept at slipping rations behind dashboard panels, inside wheel wells, beneath seats, or tucked behind engine blocks. Most scavengers focused on weapons or fuel, not hidden tins of meat or hardtack. Survivalists today, well, they can use the same principle by treating derelict structures or scrap vehicles on remote property as modular storage zones. Place sealed supplies behind fixed metal panels or inside non-obvious compartments, then, scatter some dirt and rust flakes to make the space look untouched. Troops concealed food inside rubble piles and collapsed buildings using predictable yet overlooked cavities. Urban battlefields were full of shell-damaged structures with thousands of potential hide points. Rather than burying rations, soldiers often pushed tins into voids created by broken masonry behind half-collapsed staircases or inside fractured chimneys. These hiding places blended perfectly because war ruins already looked chaotic. You can replicate this technique in a practical way by storing emergency food in the cavities of old brick structures, abandoned sheds, or stone piles. The idea is to identify pre-existing voids that blend into disorder so completely that searching them would require intentional, labor-intensive work. They used trench walls and dugout structures as built-in vaults for protected rations. Trench systems weren't just firing positions, they were living environments. Soldiers cut horizontal slots into trench walls, lined them with metal or wood, and kept extra rations there. Because they were at knee level and often camouflaged with sandbags, they weren't obvious to raiders passing through. You can adapt this idea with any earthen shelter or berm. Cut a recess into the wall, place your container, reinforce with a board, then seal with compact soil. If the facing surface looks like untouched earth, you've done it right. Food was hidden inside supply crates that were deliberately mislabeled or partially disguised. Quartermasters knew that enemy forces scavenged captured depots. To counter this, they sometimes marked ration crates as containing spare parts, medical waste, or damaged equipment. Japanese forces, in particular, frequently labelled crates unserviceable to keep soldiers from raiding essential supplies too early. You know, you can actually apply this by mislabelling long-term storage bins in your own preparedness system. A container marked as broken tools or old wiring is rarely the one someone steals first. Canteens, ammunition boxes and gear containers were, quite cleverly, repurposed as miniature sealed food lockers. Frontline troops understood that really the safest containers were those handled daily. That's why soldiers often tucked compact rations into empty ammo tins, inside double-bottom canteens, or beneath false padding in gear bags. These objects moved constantly, so they never drew suspicion. Modern survivalists can adapt this by using everyday gear as portable storage. For example, a tool case with a hidden layer beneath the tray, a med kit with a small emergency ration tucked under the cloth folds, or even a metal box disguised as a general equipment container. These little tricks let you blend essential supplies into your daily kit, just in case. Units cached food inside natural tree hollows, stumps and dense vegetation knots that looked unaltered even close up. Both Allied and Axis reconnaissance units use forest features to protect valuables. A hollow oak could hold days' worth of emergency rations, and a rotten stump could hide tins if the lid was carefully replaced. Stripping bark was avoided because it exposed tampering. If you want to use this today, the key is choosing a natural cavity large enough to accommodate sealed food, but stable enough not to collapse. Wrap the rations, slide them in, then restore the exact visual structure. It's simple, but extremely effective. So effective that many World War II caches were discovered decades later by accident. When you understand these storage tactics, you realize wartime survival relied as much on ingenuity as ammunition. Each of these methods speaks to the creativity soldiers used to keep themselves alive in unpredictable conditions, and each one still carries practical value today. If you want more deep-dive survival history, subscribe to the channel, share this guide with a fellow researcher, and help keep this legacy of knowledge alive.